Hello, little dog. Internet. Some people freak out when I'm yelling, and I get it. I really do. Some people freak out when I'm yelling on the internet, and I understand. All right, let me close this thing up over here. There we go. Oh, and I got to push a button over here. Whoop, there we go. Yeah, we got buttons working. We got sound working. It sounds not crystal clear, but good enough for the internet, right? Oh, my arm is all wet. My arm is super wet. Okay, sorry, that was bugging me. I gotta flap my chicken wing around a little bit and freak out a little bit. What is happening, everybody? It's Monday. So happy to be here for a happy Monday. Hope everyone is having a glorious day out there. And once again, Frank Dominguez, #1, with a bullet to the chat. Quickly followed up by Gabe W. Then followed up by G. Cunningham. What's up? How you doing? Let's see here. Ashton Fitzgerald. How you doing? Oh, excuse me. I'm burping. Excuse me. I feel terrible about it. Sorry about that. Mellow Moogle, what's going on? The Bearded Fish Keeper's here. How you doing? Candy Overhauls, one of our moderators. Got the little wrench there. Watch out. Candy's moderating. Alan Moulds is here. That's a hard one to say, the last name there, when I'm not ready. Alan, I almost said Molds. Well, that's not right. It's Moulds. I like it. That's kind of fun. Corvus should get Frank a gift card for Aquarium Co-op for being first so often. In the early chat here, I'm running through some of the early chat that's not in the video, so I'm going to let you guys know what's going on. BC Fish Room was standing by. Alan, I like your comment there. We're going to be working on doing some of that stuff, some of the rewards for the first to the chat, but I feel like if I make a reward right now, it's just going to go to Frank, so it's got to be really good, right? Because he's the reigning grand champion of the first one to the chat. On a regular basis. He's almost always here, right? He's almost always first. So we'll have to come up with a really good prize and then start the so I'll probably have to figure out something cool for Frank and then start the counter. Like, how am I going to count how people who's first to the chat? Maybe I'll have like a scoreboard in the background, because I do have to buy some whiteboard stuff, so I'm actually going to be putting a whiteboard back here, sort of just so I can keep notes on it in the meantime. But then I have to like figure out how to configure it in with a bunch of the shelves that Vicky wants to put in the office space here. And hold on, I realize I got my hand in my pocket. Oh, not my hand in my pocket. My phone is in my pocket. I got to put that on the floor because it's too easy for callers to try and call into the show, namely Victoria. Wherever she is, I love you. It is out here in Tacoma. It is stormy. It is stormy as all get out. It's basically a mild hurricane. Here in western Washington, people are consistently posting about the Doppler. You know, they're like, oh my God, look at the Doppler. It's crazy. And I will tell you, we have about 40-mile-an-hour sustained winds outside with gusts apparently 65. Although I have no ability to confirm that as far as like the numbers go, but I will say it's super windy and rainy out there. I will tell you, it's dark already at 4 o'clock, mainly because of the cloud cover is so dark. So it's sort of like nighttime during the day and really stormy out there. So if the power goes out, I wanted to mention here at the beginning, the stream. If the power goes out, there's really nothing I can do about that. So if everything just cuts off at some point, that might have something to do with it. I would just, so heads up to anybody out there, if the stream just goes away all of a sudden, that's most likely the culprit, because a lot of the gremlins over the weekend, I've been working out the gremlins in the computers here. I wanted to figure out, hold on a second, maybe I can just grab the camera and point it over there. And it's super dark over there. But a little preview of the new recording area over there. There will be a whole stream set up over there for what's the word I'm looking for? So for all the live shows and all that stuff, a whole new workstation's going in to that direction of me, which will be exclusively for doing live shows, internets, collaborations over the internet that need to happen here at some point in time. I've only been contacted by a couple of people that maybe want me to come on their show, or vice versa. So we'll see as it goes along what comes up of that. But either way, a lot of work's gone into that workstation. We're not going to talk too much about that today. I'll probably talk a little longer about that tomorrow. I just wanted to get that short, like, hey guys, I'm working hard to get all the gremlins out here, so nothing can bring us down. Nothing can stop us, except for the possibility of this crazy storm that's outside. Might put the power out. I don't know. Let's get back to the let's get back to a little bit of the chat here. Oh, Alan Molds, it's midnight in Belfast, and he stays up every night to catch the stream. Oh, right on. That is awesome. As I've stated in earlier shows, the long-term plan here is to do a much longer show, a much longer daily show. That would start earlier in the day. That is the long-term goal here, and one of the reasons that we're kind of limited right now. And hey man, I'm always fielding questions about people that are like, why are you always bringing up the fundraising stuff? Because that's the reality of where we're at right now. We want to do longer shows. I want to do more shows. I want to do more production and all that kind of stuff. So that is... for those of you that are, for instance, in Belfast, like in Europe and stuff like that, we do have only a couple of things that come out right now early in the day. One of those would be tomorrow, the Real Fish Talk podcast, which is a little more on topic than, say, my podcast here, because it's me and Corey. We normally come in and follow along with a more specific topic, and that's with Corey from the Aquarium Co-op on the Aquarium Co-op channel. So that's not on this channel, that's on the Aquarium Co-op channel. And then you could also check it out on the podcast, which that one comes out on Sunday. And you could listen to that stuff anytime. Excuse me. You can listen to the podcast at any time. You could download those and listen to them. One is live, and then one comes out on Sundays. And, Corey and I were talking about that. We want to expand that and start to kind of conglomerate things together so we could do a much longer show and stuff like that. So that's I guess if that's the hot news for Monday, right? Like, so who knows? CNH Aquatic is here. V-Stag's here. Melissa Blue, what's up? Sarah Canopco, Big Pedro, Ashley is here. What's up? Madfish Diva, Kevin Keener, what up, dude? We were just trash talking each other on the old face pages a little bit. I mean, not trash talking. We're just talking trash, I guess. I guess we were trash talking about paying the car tabs. So a little insight into my intensely frustrating morning today. So I got out there early to mix it up out there amongst the people and all that kind of stuff. And my tabs were expired on my truck, so it was time to go get those sorted out. And let's see, Glass Boxes and a couple other people were we were talking about how ridiculous it was because I had to drive from one place to another place to another place to another place to another place, pay these people off, pay those people off, pay these people off, then finally go to the tabs place and get my tabs and pay them off too. So honestly a lot of out-of-pocket expense for the idea that my truck would pass emissions, which it does not pass emissions. Nothing is fixed on it. I just paid out a bunch of money to people. And anybody out there that's a gearhead would like to know why I didn't pass emissions. It's because my intake manifold has a leak in it. And that was that gasket is bad in the intake manifold, and I'm not going to replace it because we made the decision 2 years ago in my old truck that I drive around that replacing the intake manifold gasket itself would be about a $2,800 job. Of course, I talked to my mechanic buddy. I said, how much would it be to drop a whole new motor in here? And he was like, well, it'd be about $3,300 to $3,400. So it was like, so I'm going to keep the old motor and have a new intake manifold gasket for almost the same price. And he was like, yep. I was like, yep, not going to do that. I'll just wait for the motor to blow up and drop a new motor in it if that's what I need to do, which seems to be the most likely culprit someday down the road. I don't know. It still runs. My truck still runs really well. So that's not a big deal. I guess maybe the emissions are bad, but they're like, hey, you need to go give $200 to a small businessman, and then you come back here and give us some more money. And then we'll just let you go. We'll just let you go. It'll be all good. So that's really kind of the frustration of this morning. Took hours and hours to driving back and forth. Like I said, pay off a guy to look at my truck, basically. It's like, here's $200. My truck's out there. And he's like, yeah, okay, let me look at that. Yep, it's a truck. Cool. Now go drive back to those other guys. So it was, like I said, pretty frustrating to go deal with a whole bunch of people and all that kind of stuff. But Gone Mad is here. What's up, Eric? How you doing? Nick K is here. He's saying it's crazy dark in California. It's crazy stormy here. It's dark and crazy stormy. As I said, watch out. The power might go out. I don't know. It's flickered a little bit, but not that bad. Barbara Jackson is here. I think we're getting the front edge of that storm down here in San Jose. Yeah, I believe that it actually is going all the way down to California too. As far as I could tell, the Doppler radar was tuning in and letting us know that what's the word? Was letting us know that it's really big. It's really big, man. So I don't think my house will blow over or anything like that, but the power might go out because a lot of the stuff's old around here. The Fish Nerd's here. What's up? Fake name is here. Rob Hicks Aquariums. How you doing? SC Aquatics. What's up? I try to say what's up to everybody. If I missed you, it's not on purpose. It's definitely not on purpose. There's a lot of chat going on here, man. There's a lot of chat to keep up with. Kevin Keener lost his power this morning while watching Stranger Things. I finished season 2, and I will tell you, what a fantastic show. If you haven't watched Stranger Things, watch both seasons. It is just an amazing show. And a little bit of a parallel to that, so this weekend we actually went, we did a bunch of family stuff, so I didn't do a ton of fish tank things. I did a lot of stuff kind of focusing on Victoria, because as you guys know, the last weekend for 4 days or 5 days, I forget how long I was out of town, 4 or 5 days over the whole entire weekend, I was gone. So this last weekend was Vicky's time, and we saw 2 movies, count them 1, 2, we saw 2 movies. We went out to dinner. Fantastic. All that stuff was great. I can't remember what we did on Friday Friday I worked late, so I didn't get home until 10, 11. I think 11 on Friday. I got home late, so I just spent the whole weekend with Victoria. We didn't have any football stuff, so I just tried to hang around and be around for my lady, so that's basically what we did this weekend. The 2 movies that we saw were Thor Ragnarok, and the other one was It. Okay, It was creepy. I mean, was it as good as the first one? It's a different movie than the first one, so it's like a remake. But as you guys know, most of the movies that come out now are like they're planning on making 4 or 5 or 10. I don't even know, like Fast and the Furious 90. they'll be making a ton of those. So this remake, with the air quotes around it, wasn't necessarily a remake. It's a different movie than the first one. So I think the second movie would be more like the remake of the It. But it was pretty good. It's kind of freaky. I mean, I'll tell you this much. It was freaky. There's a lot of... It was, yeah, I mean, it was scary. I don't know. I'm not a huge horror guy myself. I mean, I appreciate the medium, but not a huge horror guy. I mean, it's just like, there's always just bad stuff happening. I'm like, I don't know. I think when I was much younger, I think I appreciated horror more. But nowadays, I'm kind of like, this is all just bad news, man. So the other movie that we saw was Thor Ragnarok, which was fantastic. I'm not gonna try and I'm not gonna spoil anything, you guys. I'm not gonna tell you guys any of the story or anything like that. But when I was there, I couldn't help but notice that a lot of it was influenced by the popularity of Stranger Things. So if anybody's seen it or anybody that goes to see it, there's a definite parallel in my head of having seen that movie to the popularity of Stranger Things. There's just like a lot going on there, and I don't know anything about the cinematography or the sound guys or anything like that. I don't know anything about those, but Thor was kind of cool because it was like the superhero movie plus some of the like sprinkling of Stranger Things, like the music and the kind of visual effects and stuff like that, which was really cool. Jeff Goldblum was in it, and he was just fantastically weird throughout the whole time. Mad props to that guy. He's such a weirdo. Does a great job of just being Jeff Goldblum, I guess, really. Mad Fish Diva is here. What's up? How you doing? Let's see. So I've noticed the like count has been low lately. I think once he starts, we should all hit the button to show appreciation. For this, I guess, yeah, hit the like button. Candy Overhauls was saying she loves the tree behind here. She wants to buy that. Too bad you can't buy it. It's been sold. I wanted to put it up there because it's actually getting some finishing touches done on it. This one sold this last weekend. Just waiting on the deposit, and then I'm going to finish it. Recently got some commentary about some of the paintings in the background here that don't sell, or don't get like work done on them. The reason that paintings may or may not sit back here and not get some work done on them is because I don't have a deposit, right? Oftentimes people ask me why that's my workflow as far as my art goes. I take a deposit, right? Then I'll start working on it. Then I'll take the final payment once it's fully completed. So that's why sometimes stuff sits back here and it's not necessarily being worked on. There's other stuff around that I work on for sure. So anybody out there that's having questions as to why, like, hey, why didn't that painting get worked on? It's like, well, because no one paid to want it. And sorry, Candy, that one is sold, but we could always work out something if you were looking to get a painting at some point in time. We could definitely work that out. If anybody's interested in getting a painting or something along those lines, just head over to Dark Star Arts. You can check that out. And then so what's the word? Yeah, we can work that out. It's a little bit interesting, maybe just a look into what it's like doing art. One of my main reasons for doing things in that workflow like that is that more often than not, if I just make a bunch of paintings and have them around and then do a show, for instance, like if I put them up in a gallery, you all have to bear in mind that if I put a painting up in a gallery, I have to mark it up about 300% in order to pay the gallery, right? So the gallery normally takes 60%. 50% really just depends on the place. It's all different wherever you go. Some places are lucky that you only do 20%, so you only have to mark it up a little bit. And oftentimes people will go like, oh, well, that a painting sold for like $4,000, but the artist probably only got like $1,400, and then take out your 42% taxes out of that, you can make like what, $800? I think, is that the right number? So one of the big reasons that that I only do commission work nowadays is for that. A lot of times, and then so in a gallery show like that, because things are marked up super high, it's really only available to certain people that have a ton of money to just like kind of throw out there. And I would prefer my art to be more accessible to people. I even, I go down all the way down to even like the $150 mark realistically. And then of course the sky's the limit from that. But that's one of the main reasons I've kind of stepped away from showing things in a gallery. And then the other side of that too is that, what's the word? The other side of that is that a bunch of paintings will come back. A bunch like this painting. Where the hell? I'm pointing at myself. I poke myself in my ear. Yeah, smart. This painting right here was in a gallery show. Came back here. Somebody wanted to buy it. Then they didn't want to buy it. Then it's still here and da-da-da-da and all that kind of stuff. And the last thing I want to do is have a warehouse of paintings that are all over the place. So that would drive Vicky crazy, which in turn would make her not happy, and then I would be unhappy if Victoria's unhappy, right? So that's one of the big reasons we do that. Candy Overhauls loved Thor. The Fish Nerd saying hi. Well, hi, Fish Nerd. What's up, man? How you doing? I met the Fish Nerd there at the Aquatic Experience. If you all are interested in he has a great channel. Go ahead and take a look at his channel after, of course, after the live stream, or look at it now if you're like one of those multitasking champions, right? You can watch videos and a live stream at the same time. It'd probably be better if you just turn the sound off on this and then just watch the Fish Nerds videos. That'd be better, right? Kyle Weltner is asking, do I paint fishes? Yes, I do paint fishes from time to time. My mainstay stuff that I do is kind of a weird, surreal nature things and portraits. I like to do black and white style portraits. It's sort of my thing. Hold on, let me grab one. Hold on. I can't grab one. They're stuck to the wall. I was going to grab that one, but Vicky put it up there, so I don't want to screw that up. But I do a bunch of black and white portraits and that kind of stuff, and graffiti and a bunch of nonsense. I'm kind of varied in my style, if that sort of makes sense. But yeah, I do fish paintings and stuff like that. I definitely I don't normally do fish paintings unless they're a commission piece. That makes sense, because I could just be hanging around painting fishes all the time and not get any of the other work that I got to get done. So that's kind of the thing. Kyle Weltner saying, I want to see a rainbow fishes. Oh, okay. Yeah, he paints fish. I've been working on a rainbow fish lately. It's normally where the tree is. Yes, there's a rainbow fish that is ongoing. I need to email the customer of that one, which is my fault. I need to email and iron out exactly what coloring wants to be done. Oh, excuse me, my back is hurting. I'm stretching. All right. Okay, so as the title of the video today is Aquascape Class 101. So this is an opportunity for people to get in your questions, to get in some of your beginner style questions. I know a lot of people out there are always kind of, they're like reticent to ask really beginner questions. Especially if somebody's like a couple years in. If you're like a couple years in and then you're going like, man, I don't want to be that guy who sounds like, wait a minute, like, whoa, hold on. I'm just trying to figure out something with my lights here or something like that. I know that we get a lot of questions emailed to me and stuff like that, but this is a live opportunity to kind of have a discussion and also have some other people help chime in with maybe some mistakes or whatever, or maybe not mistakes, or maybe things that just worked really well for you. one of the big issues that we have is trying to figure out people's water quality throughout the world, because this show goes out on the internet. We have open availability to stuff in the world. So at certain points in time, at certain points in time, there have been like a certain question would be like, hey, I'm in Australia, right? I'm in Australia and I'm trying to do blah, 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 right? And then it's like, oh, wait a minute, I don't even know what the water quality, what the water parameters and stuff like that in Australia are. So then I kind of have to end up researching that kind of stuff. But and then it just kind of turns into this crazy path of trying to figure out someone's tank. Whereas somebody else could be in Australia and just go oh, wait a minute, I ran into that a while ago and I did X, Y, and Z, and now things are running really well. So, I'm sort of blessed with the pretty easy to manage water here in Western Washington. In Western Washington, we have really nice water. We have really nice water here. If you could see out the window right now, it's all falling from the sky at a rapid succession and sort of sideways. It's sort of that sideways rain that Forrest Gump talks about in the Gump movie. All right, so let's see. We got some questions coming in here. I like it. That's awesome, guys. It's hey, let's get some questions together, and then, oh my God, here they come. Here come some questions. Brandon Saltanovich is asking, what plants do you recommend for a peacock tank? Well, for a peacock tank, I would generally look into doing some... I would look into more of the fairly durable type plants. Things like Anubias, I would definitely look into. Generally speaking, they may or may not uproot them, send them out along the way, but it's not going to be a huge problem for plants like Anubias, and considering how many types of Anubias are available now, you could definitely put together a really cool scape for some haps or peacocks or whatever you got going on. And then, if they do happen to get uprooted or something like that, they're really not going to be damaged like some of the, a lot of the more delicate plants and stuff like that. You could eventually sort of make a little carpet if that was something that you were looking for. Maybe you got some Anubias nana or something along those lines. It wouldn't necessarily be one contiguous carpet, but you could definitely get some low-lying stuff in, some medium ground, and then just some big ones. I've definitely done some swords, so some Amazon swords and things like that in peacock, hap, cichlid tanks, all those kinds of things. But you definitely do need to keep them behind and really firmly rooted and in an area where the fish really can't swim down and just dig them up, because they will. And that's more of just a pain in the butt, to get them back and replant them and get them back and replant them and get them back and replant them. But with Anubias and swords and stuff like that, you could definitely fill out a tank and have it do pretty well. The water conditions and water, the pH and that kind of stuff will be a little bit, it will be on the slightly, I wouldn't say difficult. I would say sort of the medium, sort of the medium area of difficulty. So maybe just intermediate would be kind of a better thing. But with those plants, they will generally make it pretty easy for you. So that's kind of what I would look for in regards to if I was going to do a tank like that. Just a little while ago, I saw a 400 gallons, 12-foot. A 12-foot, I saw a picture, I didn't get to see it in person. Let me get that straight. Didn't see it in person, but it was a 12-foot, 400-gallon aquarium that was all peacocks and haps, and they'd actually done some really big Cafolia Anubias in there, which is pretty tough. I mean, it's a pretty tough leafed plant, and they basically just scaped up these big rock areas to keep the Anubias in there, and then, they can't move those big rocks out of the way, and then they just seem to have a good time in there. They had a good time in there with a little bit of greenery and a little bit of growage and all that kind of stuff. Whew. All right. Let's see. What plants? Okay, so we went I think I went in depth into that one. Uh-oh, somebody's retracting messages. What happened? Uh-oh, Nick K retracted a message. It's probably spelling error, I would guess. Oh, Skinner is here. What's up, Skinner? I haven't seen you in a long time, man. How you doing? I know it's late where you're at. It's super late. One of our European buds. And I kind of lost track of where I was in the chat here. Where do we go? Gone Mad's asking, did anyone watch Pectec's video out today? He was Corvus talking. No, I haven't seen it yet, but since you brought it up, I'm definitely going to check out a Pectec video. Pectec is one of those guys that I forget to watch at a regular time. I always forget to watch Pectec at a regular time, but I normally will binge watch like 5 or 6 of his videos. Once I remember, I'm like, oh yeah, I should watch Pectec's vids. And then, but I did meet him in person. We had a great time hanging out at the Aquatic Experience. We walked around. He was a great guy to go like shoot some video with. We had some fun kind of rambling around, shooting the bull and looking at stuff. And yeah, great guy. Totally as cool in person as on video, that's for sure. So let's see. I guess the yellow beige color along with the abstract shapes make me think Salvador. I would not consider myself Salvador Dali. That guy's way more talented than me. Let's see. I'm here for one of the rainbow fish. You can do whatever. Give me some creative freedom. But you can email me after. That's right, Nick. You're one of the people I've failed to email. There are 2 people I need to email. And Nick K is one of them. I got to email you guys and let you know what the schedule looks like as things go along here. So let's see here. Oh, Sean Wilson says, so many people in chat and so few likes. Oh, yeah, man, we need to hit that like button. I don't know. This show is brought to you by the Patreon. The Patreon and patronizers. That's you guys. We are up to 119 patronizers on the Patreon. And so we're really working on making sure that we have no commercials here. That's one of the reasons we don't have any commercials. That's one of the reasons that we definitely work on trying to put out a show every single day, bring stuff to you, answer the questions as well as I can. You can always go on to Patreon, the Patreon page there, and get your questions in ahead of time. If the chat's moving by too quickly and I don't necessarily get to it at time, that is a great way to contact me and a great way to contact our little community here. Like I said, we're up to 100. I think it was 119, right? I think that's what it was. I gotta step over here. Oh, we got a brand new one during the show here from Brian Sultanovich with a $5 pledge, $5 a month. $5 a month. Thank you very much. With the Brandon Sultanovich. And Cole and Deb Schramm pledged $1 a month. Thank you very much, Cole and Deb. It was great to meet that couple out at the Aquatic Experience. We actually went. They actually came out to have dinner with everybody. I'd love to be able to do more stuff like that with y'all at some point. At some point in time, I'd love to get to more conventions. I know the OCA is this weekend. I'm not going to be going to that. If anybody was wondering if I was going, because I got a couple questions from people if I was going to go to that, and it's gonna be it would be a fair bit off the top right now, to try to get to Ohio in like a week. Aquaman is asking, I have a 90-gallon dirted tank. I want to get rid of the dirt and go with fluorite. What's the best and fastest way to change it over? Keep my fish okay. How long should I wait before adding fish? Aha. I've done this plenty of times myself. The easiest way to do it is you're going to have to drain the tank. There's just no easy way to do it with water. in the tank and just to keep the fish in there and stuff. But the best way to do it would be to get everything prepared ahead of time. What I would do is I would grab my quarantine tank, which is a 30-gallon. It's not a very big tank. It's pretty easy to carry around, and you kind of put it in any old spot. I would just drain direct tank water into that 30-gallon, which would be part of the draining process anyhow, right? I'd draw, for me, maybe you got a 20, maybe you got whatever, just kind of, apply the math for your own specific situation. And I would drain the water into that, and I would use something like a hang-on back filter or whatever just to keep it kind of live. I'd probably throw a heater. A heater's probably not a huge necessity if you're just going to be holding them there temporarily while you do all this, while you break down all this other stuff. Then I would definitely add an air stone of some kind, just to add an air bubbler in there, just to keep the oxygen nice and high while everything's being held in there. Drain the rest of the water out, and I will give you guys a hot tip. If you're somebody like me and you have to go around and at certain points in time, obviously right now I don't have to do a whole lot of this, but if you have to do a lot of tank work, like removing substrate and stuff like that, the best way to do it is to get a shop vac. A shop vac is 100% hands down the fastest way to get all that old substrate out of there. It probably takes 5 to 10 minutes realistically. That's realistically the fastest way to do it. Get that out. Get the rest of it cleaned out. Boom. Now after probably 20 or 25 minutes, you're ready to start adding your new substrate, all that stuff. Get the scape going. Your fish will be fine, in a smaller tank like that in the meantime, because you're going to be holding on to them temporarily. Any of your biological media and stuff like that, I would keep in the tank with those fish and just keep it wet. Like if you have a canister filter or something like that, you can actually just leave it full and just leave it there in the meantime. It's not going to be all screwed up or anything like that while it's just kind of waiting for you. And then you'll be able to get all your new substrate in there, get it all scaped, get it all set up. Then go ahead and flood the tank, bring that back up to temperature, then start adding your fish back in. And once your biological media was back in there, let it cycle for a while, let it turn water, get it warmed up to the right temperature. Then they'll be really close. You'll be able to add them back in, and it won't be that big of a huge stressor for your fish like that. With a dirted tank like that, I wouldn't save anything as far as the substrate for an aquarium later on, but all that substrate that you suck out with your shop vac, go ahead and put that outside in your garden. It's not garbage. It's not recycling. It's definitely not compost, but go outside, mix that in, till that into your garden, and that area of your garden will be robust because of all the fish doo-doo, which you guys will get a good idea to see what I'm talking about when we go to the video portion of the show, which is coming up in 3 minutes, if anybody's waiting around for that. Simple run of questions to start from Potato. How deep should substrate be for best rooting of plants? Rough description of rule of thirds, and can a light be too dim? I can answer those questions pretty quickly. Sort of a minimum of 2 inches for substrate to keep a nice planted area to keep plants rooted, and also for your nutrient exchange and all that kind of stuff. You definitely want to have about 2 inches of substrate. It's sort of basically as deep as you really need. I typically go a little bit deeper than that on most of my tanks. I have really big tanks, so if you think about a lot of my old nano tanks that were only 8 gallons, right? They were just little ones. They were just little tanks, but those would be at about 2 inches. That's kind of the bare minimum that you realistically need for that. Rough description of rule of thirds. Well, the rule of thirds is an art situation, more or less. Art, photography, composition, feng shui, whatever you want to call it. This painting right back here is a perfect example of the rule of thirds, right? So 1/3 is doing this, 1/3 is doing that, and 1/3 is doing that, right? You can see how there's basically 3 areas to this painting, and that essentially is the composition. That's actually like a really, just happens to be a good example of what the rule of thirds are. Things are flowing in one direction. You basically have this area, that area, that area, if that kind of makes sense for you for the rule of thirds. I know that when I was at the aquatic experience, I definitely heard a lot of people talking about the rule of thirds, and I kind of had a chuckle. Just the way that people were saying it was pretty funny. There was a bunch of people standing in front of some Aquascape tanks, and they were, see, this guy, he didn't do the rule of thirds. He didn't do that there. And I was like, was this guy smoking a pipe or something? Like, oh, see here, he didn't do the rule of thirds. Yeah, see, and it was pretty interesting with some of the people with that. But this painting back here would be a good example of just a third of the area, a third of the area, a third of the area. They're all kind of different, if that makes sense, and a flow of movement and blah, blah, blah. Rule of thirds would take a long time to describe, but that's a real quick way to give people an idea. And can a light be too dim? Yes, a light could be too dim. Depending on the depth of your water, usable light won't get to the plants. So the plants that need usable light in order to photosynthesize, it's very important for them to do that. KG Cichlids is asking, if I had to do maintenance and you had a cut on your hand, what type of gloves would I use? When working with my hands and I need to wear gloves, I always wear nitrile gloves. If nobody knows what nitrile gloves are, look them up. They're a type of rubber. They're like latex gloves, except they're thicker, and you won't have an allergic reaction to them ever. Like, I don't have a latex allergy myself, but as a chef, you used to have to wear gloves about 12 to 13 hours, 14, 15, 16 hours a day, and the latex would generally irritate your skin over time. It would dry it out, do all that kind of stuff. Nitrile doesn't do that, doesn't seem to give any kind of allergic response over even a long time exposure. So nitrile is definitely the way to go. Sometimes nitrile is more expensive, sometimes nitrile is cheaper. Those markets change, they fluctuate. There's no set price. So if I'm buying nitrile gloves, I normally go onto Amazon and find which company has like a sale. I don't have a very specific company that I stick to, although I do have like 10 brands in my Amazon list on the on my page that lets me know which ones I've ordered from before and which ones I liked and which ones I didn't think were that great. So Nisi says you can get those gloves at Lowe's, use them to clean cat boxes. Yes, you can get nitrile gloves at Lowe's, but they will be generally twice as expensive than Amazon. They're really expensive at the hardware store or something like that. If you happen to have a Harbor Freight near you, you can get them at a pretty good price at Harbor Freight. That's the one place I could recommend people to get nitrile gloves if you need to physically go to a store. That's the one I would go to. But that would be the that would be the gloves that I would recommend if you had a situation like that. They're almost always used in medical purposes too, so they really will keep any kind of weirdness off of you. All right, we're headed over to the video portion. All right, now one of the reasons we're doing this video portion with this video today is I wanted to explain to people that may or may not be new to the hobby. They go, how does this aquascape really get to where it's going? As you guys know, I planted this one probably 4 months ago. I've just been letting it grow and kind of fill in and making kind of minor changes as time has gone on. And people really go like, I don't understand how you really get to this really beautiful look once you get to a certain point, right? Is that it actually just takes time. It does. It realistically is just one of those things. You just keep messing with stuff, moving things around, allowing plants to fill in, and maybe I don't like where the plants are. But here's a perfect example of what most people don't want to do, and that's when something isn't looking right the way that you want to do, you don't want to disturb it, right? Because you're like, oh man, that's going to be the worst thing. Go ahead and disturb it. go ahead and go Thunderdome. Go ahead and go Thunderdome on the areas that you need to change. It's really the only way to get past it. If you really go at this with, delicate, what's it called? Like, how do you call that? If you're just going at it all super delicate style, and you're just hoping that like nature will take care of it, you'll never really get there. So realistically, one of the things that I would recommend is to just kind of go at this stuff, make a mess. Don't stress out too much about making a mess. As a couple people talking earlier mentioned, the Chaco Piz, is that you will mix things up. Things will get mixed up. You will have stuff like that. This is why I have filter floss on this tank. It will pick up this particulate, and I'll change the filter floss, which I'll be showing you guys how to do later this week, because I had to order more. I was actually going to do it in conjunction with this video, but I actually had to order more. I was all out, and it's probably being shipped here by a turtle or something. Not 100% sure. Turtle, right? Maybe. Excuse me. But this is what I normally get from people that I would consider to be like new, is that they don't want to do stuff like this, because once they have something in place, they don't want to mess it up. But if it's not making you happy, I would like to encourage people to go, get at it and move this stuff around, because it's not really going to damage anything. I mean, I'm not saying like throw a sledgehammer at your tank or anything crazy like that. Make sure your fish are kind of out of the way. But digging this stuff up, moving these things around, it's good for the plants, it's good for the fish, it's good for everything in your aquarium. You may or may not have a little bit of an algae bloom from a situation like this, but that's easily remedied by filtering out that fine material, the fine doo-doo that's floating around in the water there. And just a quick water change later this week to kind of get those little excess nutrients out of the water column that are floating around. So how to fix this is pretty simple, and how to go at it is pretty simple. Now, the reason I'm kind of clearing out this back corner, I have this back corner filled in with crypts. It does look pretty nice, realistically, but it's not blowing my mind. It's not blowing my mind here. And so realistically, I said, you know what I got to do? I got to follow the rule of thirds like we were talking about earlier. This big piece of driftwood and tree and stuff here needs to be back in that corner. It can't be kind of just floating around out here in the front where it's not going to be fitting what it is. It needs to be back more in the corner to fill in and fit with what is going on in this scape, because I have a lot of wood in the left, I have a lot of wood in the center, and I just have this weird, funky kind of void area over here on the right, because I don't want to disrupt my little crypts here. Well, this is a two-pronged strike attack at this aquarium. That the first part is get all these crypts out of here. The second part of the first part, I guess part 1A and part 1B. 1B would be to, I have to trim a chunk of this wood and move this tree nicely into the back there and just allow it to kind of live and thrive back in the corner there. And now the prong 2 of the aquarium attack here is these crypts and stuff. Some of them will go into the shrimp tank, but the mainstay of these will suddenly be put into Victoria's tank when she's not looking, and I'll just give her a little hug and say, "Happy Wednesday, babe. I added some plants to your aquariums when you weren't looking, and now you have more plants in your aquarium." So it will be like like I said, it'll be a double whammy of goodness. That not only will it help me clear out the scape, and then where this is moving from is actually going to kind of be occupied by a little bit more rock work that I'm going to be doing later down the road here. I do need to scavenge some nice pieces of rock that are going to match this overall scape, which will realistically be me taking a little bit of time to get the right rocks, which, sometimes can be a real good video opportunity. Sometimes it can't, but hopefully, hopefully that it will be a good video opportunity. Sometimes it's not. At a rock yard, it's real boring. Sometimes there's a lot of action, and it probably makes some good video. Great when people say water needs to be crystal clear and have zero nitrates and plants die off. The Amazon River or Nile River aren't that clean either. Hashtag nature. That's right, Priscilla. Let's see. Madfish Diva is asking, what is the carpet plant? That plant that's filling in there that sort of looks like a lawn is dwarf chainsword, which is a fun little plant, but it will bore you to tears at times as it slowly, one blade at a time fills in this area. So, like I said, magnificent plant. Takes a long time to fill in an area. It just takes a long time. As you can see in the video there, a lot of those runners, it's just like it'll go this like 2 centimeters and then sprout up one little leaf, and then it'll go under the substrate 2 more centimeters, then sprout up a leaf, then 2 centimeters, then sprout up a leaf. And this is like that mind-bending process where you go like, that's gonna take forever. Not a big deal, though, because we have forever. We have forever, my friends. We just have so long. We have such a long time taking care of the aquarium, and then before you know it, 6, 8, 10 months have gone by, and the whole thing is completely filled in. Candy says, I'm crazy. Look how good that looked. I think it looked good, like I said, but it wasn't blowing my socks off. And it's also one of the reasons why, as some people have asked, why have I dialed down to 4 or 5 tanks, is because I don't want to let stuff like this linger when I go, wait a minute, I could go work on that, but I've got so many tanks I got to do maintenance on. It's one of the reasons I have just a bunch of big tanks now instead of like a million small tanks, is because I would rather be refining what I'm working on and, you know, just working on getting it more to a point of knock your socks off instead of just like, oh yeah, that's a tank with some plants in it and maybe a little bit of algae and maybe a couple of fish or something, right? So that's one of the big reasons that I've gone over to just having a few big tanks, is that I realistically want to get my tanks to the point where I've had them here before, to the point where people would walk in and go, "That's real." That's what I want to get back to. I want to get back to those types of comments. And with considering like how busy I am these days, it's a lot better for me to take the opportunity with some big tanks instead of doing a bunch of small tanks. If that sort of makes sense to anybody out there, that's just more of experience that I had I had that personal experience when I had so many tanks that it was like, oh, there's a, you know, it's like there's a piece de grammas in this tank. Oh, there's a rainbow fish in this tank. Oh, there's shrimps in this one. Oh, there's killifish in this one. There's, you know, whatever. There's betas in this one. There's one beta in this one. There's a different beta over here. There's a beta chinoides, blah, 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 blah. And it just started getting too, it got too muddied for me having so many tanks with just one or two or three, 4 or 5 little things in it. So that's why I made this transition to going like, I'm just going to go big tanks. I'm going to work on the big scapes, and that's realistically my goal. Someday I'll probably, you know, realistically, Vicky and I have been talking about it, that someday we'll probably open some kind of, I don't know if you want to call it a showroom or whatever, attached to like a nursery. If that ends up being the case, then I will go back to having a ton of small tanks, but they'll all probably be like, you know, 55s or 40s or whatever, and we'll end up probably doing a showroom, right, which would just be kind of the area that where all the specifically fancy scape tanks would be at. And so if we ever do go that route, we might go that route, but right now it's better for me to just keep working on these really big tanks. And like I said, I'm going for the comment, is that real? Are those real plants? What? You know, people just would go like, oh, yeah, that must be all just plastic stuff. And you're like, nope, that's real. You could eat it. I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but probably you could put it in your mouth and chew it up. Sashimi Whiskey has arrived, and he says I wouldn't like it when he's hungry. It's kind of funny when he's hungry because he finds candy to eat and then falls asleep on the ground. Andy 70 Volkswagen bus. I'm working on a field of dwarf sag in one small tank, and it's not real fast either. Yep, dwarf Sagittaria is not that fast of a grower either, realistically. Although probably quicker than the dwarf chainsword, I think. Realistically, look at my dorky hand. I got a dorky hand. That's my dorky left hand. Huh, what a nerd. Let me see. Let me catch up on the chat here a little bit. Let me see what's happening back here. I wish I could get some chickens to eat my excess duckweed and stem plants. Barbara, you could put your stem plants in your compost. Not a problem. And duckweed, I always save duckweed for fish and shrimp food. It's a fantastic fish and shrimp food. If you're doing it just exclusively for a fish food, the biggest thing I would recommend is just add in a couple of peas. Just a couple of peas with your duckweed. Put it in the blender, blend it up, put it in a flat tray, and let it dry out. You can even do it in the oven at like 250 or 225. Let it dry out, and then you have like some nice green dried out food, which you know where it came from too, so you know the source material. CNH Aquatics, what's up, man? How you doing? Shop vac is seriously 100 times faster. Yeah, it is much faster. It'd be the best way to go. KG Cichlids is asking, if you had a choice between an undergravel filter or a sponge filter, what would I choose? 100% sponge filter. 100%. Not even a question in my mind between undergravel filter and sponge filter. Sponge filter, way better. Night and day. The upsides are considerable compared to an undergravel filter, and the downsides minimal. Jose Davila, if I can get ADA Amazona Aquasoil for about the same price as Fuval Stratum, do you recommend one or the other? Does Stratum have the same ammonia spike that ADA is supposed to have at first? Jose Davila, yes. Yes, it has the ammonia spike as the ADA. It smells just like the ADA. Plants grow in it just like the ADA. It feels just like the ADA. And I'm 99% sure, other than them saying that, other than the corporate answer of no, these come from two different places, that it is the same material and just put into a different bag. So yet another reason why I kind of say get the Fluval Stratum. It's cheaper. Like 2 big bags of Amazonia ADA, the ADA Amazonia Aquasoil is about $100 at most places. Sometimes you don't get the cheap shipping or whatever. Let's just throw that aside. But typically you can get 3 bags of the Fluval Stratum for the $100. It's pretty easy to come along at that price. It's almost always on there. It's almost always on Amazon for that kind of price where you can get 3 bags for about $100. And I did a volume comparison on those on a video a long time ago. I don't know the name of the video, but it's a volume comparison between the two. You get quite a bit more for the $100 mark. It's one of those things that a lot of people out there go, well, I'm going to spend $100 on substrate. That's crazy. But let's say you're setting up a 55. You get 3 bags of Fluval Stratum. It's $100, and now you're ready to go, right? That, to me, is this huge savings versus, like, for instance, doing a dirted tank where you got to go buy 4 different types of material. Like, you got to go to the hardware store. You have to buy your organic potting soil. You got to make sure you get just the right potting soil when you're never going to get a really good comprehensive readout from what the company put in the bag. Then you got to get your sand, then you got to get your gravel, then you got to get this, you got to get that. You have to drive around and do all that nonsense and pick it up at places. Then you have questions about pool filter sand, and then you're trying to figure out which kind of sand. Should I use the the blasting sand? Should I blah, 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 blah? It just turns into this whole crazy thing. What I've tried to recommend to people is just set aside some budget for your substrate. Filter, heater, tank, substrate. Then you can start accumulating plants. Boom, you're just like off to the races. So just assume it's going to be $200-$300 to set up a tank. You're going to set it up really nicely, and it's going to kick ass. It's going to be a great experience when you set it up nicely and go along that route. So always just recommend people to do that. If they think they're saving money by doing a dirted tank, you're just really not. So speaking of money, this show is brought to you by patronizers like you and theaquariumcoop.com. If you haven't been to the Aquarium Co-op, if you don't know of Corey, you're probably living in a cave. If you're on this live stream and you don't know who Corey from the Aquarium Co-op is, you're probably living in a cave. Go ahead and check out the Aquarium Co-op. The only code that I know of is the podcast 10. They do have a lot of sales. They have Black Friday is coming up, and when I was talking to Corey about what they got going on, they have a ton of stuff coming on sale. So Black Friday is coming up, so I'd pay attention to that. And this show is in part brought to you by the Aquarium Co-op. So if you are looking for live plants, for sure, get on the aquariumcoop.com. Order them up, have them shipped to your house, and just open a bag. And then you're scaping. You know what I'm saying? And then you're just going to be scaping. And next thing you know, people are going to be coming over to your house going, "Oh my God, those are real plants?" And you're like, "Yes, those are real plants. Don't make me karate chop you, because this is real. This is that real time." Right? And also, I'd like to say a big thank you to all the patronizers out there. The goals have been updated. The new goal out there that we are trying to reach is... You all want the Dr. McFishlove, Dr. Fishlove to come on here and do a whole live stream. Well, I got to get my whole outfit together. I got to have to do all that kind of stuff. I'm a method actor, so I'm going to have to go and be like that the whole entire weekend, so I'd be able to do an hour of a live stream in character properly for you guys. So there is a bit of run into it. But that is our next goal on the Patreon here. Then we will be, what's the word? What's the word I'm looking for here? We'd be doing one, Dr. Fishlove. I don't know exactly the name. I'm gonna have to refine the name. I'll have to go through some things. But if anybody's wondering why it's Dr. Fishlove, it's a joke as the Dr. Strangelove. If you've ever seen that movie. If you've ever seen Dr. Strangelove or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, that's the Dr. Strangefish. That probably sounds... Dr. Strangefish does sound better. I like that. But that's our current goal right now. If we can hit that funding, I'm gonna do one of those a month. And like I was saying, it's like there's a fair bit of work that goes into putting that all together. The preparation, you guys. I have to do wind sprints and lots of stretching and limbering. But I want to give a shout out to all the patronizers here real quick as we roll down to the end of the show here. There's just so many. I can't read them all off. It just turns into a super boring thing. So what I'm going to do here is... Oh, what the heck? Where did that stupid thing go? So what I'm going to do is just give a rundown of our new patronizers here real quick and let people know I'm saying thank you very much for the new ones. Thank you very much for the old ones, too. I'm going to get some better shout-out thing going here now that I have editing station and live streaming station going in. Brandon Saltanovich during the show today with the $5. Cole and Deb Schramm. Bridget Rochette. Kevin Socha, Brandon Solis, DJ Collins, Like Ramosa, John Ugaletti, Dean Hanoi, Josh Peters, Daryl Dimer, who I saw in the chat earlier. I saw Daryl Dimer in the chat. Jorgen Therkilsden. I gotta figure out how to say this name. Jorgen Therkilsden. Killed Zen. I don't know. I'm going to look it up and try to figure out how to say it right. Alyssa Jackson, Sean Peck, Alexandru Radion, Kyle Daniels, Laney NP, Malini Victor upped her patronization. As you guys know, you can change your patronization whenever you feel like it. It does come out once a month at the very end. Matthew Fish, Sherry Ormiston, thank you very much. Everybody have a fantastic Monday out there, and has popped up into the chat. Bob Steenfot is going live. So I'm going to head over to the Bob Steenfot show, and Gene Tesk says Thor kills them. Must be Thor kills them. Thor kills them. I like it. Either way. In a YouTube live stream far, far away, he had a Patreon, and he got patronizes. And he got patronizes. The following are the patronizes. I'm confused. Please take a moment of appreciation and care for time. Glass boxes, I don't know what the heck that said. That's hardly a sentence. But Bob Steenfot is live. Everybody going to head over there to Bob Steenfot's live stream. Check in with that guy. Tell him where you're from. And tell him Corbus says hi. And blow up his stream with some comments real quick. which is always fun. Bob's a cool dude, and I'm sure he would be like, what the hell? And Andy 70V Volkswagen Bus is asking what percentage of the Patreon pledges get skimmed off by the man. I will answer this real quick. It is much less than YouTube. YouTube is over 45%. The Patreon is 5%. The Patreon is 5% for the filing fee and 5% for Patreon. So they only take 10%. So as a creator, the creators get 90%, and then I have to pay my taxes on that, obviously. So it actually works out much more effectively that way than YouTube just taking all the money up front, basically. So it does work out way better that way. And to all my buddies out in how do they call it? Idaho. Out there in Idaho, prepare yourselves. Someday I'll be a Idahoian myself. And if you don't know what Idaho is, don't worry. Just relax. It's geographic. Later. Anybody seen that button?